Evelyn Shaw had everything money could buy, except the one thing her wealth couldn't purchase: authenticity in a world built on appearances. When she invited Marcus, her quiet black driver, to a charity gala to escape her loneliness, she never imagined how one night would upend both their carefully constructed worlds. The whispers started immediately. Cruel headlines followed, and her mother's ultimatum forced them both to choose between dignity and expectation. What began as a desperate attempt to avoid another empty night became a dangerous dance of hearts across social divides, where every stolen glance carried the weight of judgment, and every tender moment risked becoming tomorrow's scandal. If you're watching this story of forbidden connection and quiet courage, hit subscribe now and tell me where you're watching from, because some love stories are worth fighting for, no matter the cost. Evelyn Shaw stared at her reflection in the mirror. The emerald green dress fit perfectly, but something was missing. Not in the dress, but in her eyes. They looked tired, empty. She sighed as her phone buzzed again with another reminder about tonight's Haven Gala. Another night of fake smiles and small talk, she muttered to herself. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called. Mr. Patel, the household manager, stepped into the dressing room. His kind eyes took in the situation quickly. "The car will be ready at 6:30, Miss Shaw," he said. "Is everything all right?" Evelyn smoothed her hands over the silk dress. "It's fine. Just another night of the same people asking the same questions." She tried to smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Mr. Patel nodded. "Perhaps the evening will surprise you." "I doubt it." Evelyn picked up her earrings from the jewelry box. "I know exactly how it will go. Everyone will ask about Mother's charity work, then about my non-existent love life, then offer to introduce me to someone's son or nephew." "And you don't want that?" "I want—" Evelyn paused, searching for the right words. "I want someone to see me as more than the Shaw family checkbook." A phone buzzed, and Mr. Patel glanced down at his. "That's Marcus. He wanted to let you know there's heavy traffic on the bridge. He suggests leaving 15 minutes early." Evelyn nodded, grateful for the change of subject. Marcus Reed had been her driver for almost a year now. He was always punctual, always professional, always steady. Something about his calm presence made even rush-hour traffic less stressful. "Tell him thank you," she said. Then a thought struck her so suddenly that she surprised herself by saying it out loud. "Actually, is Marcus free tonight, after he drops me off?" Mr. Patel raised an eyebrow. "I believe so. Would you like me to ask him something?" Evelyn took a deep breath. "Ask if he'd like to attend the gala as my guest. Not as my driver, but as—" She hesitated. "As my +1. Mr. Patel's eyes widened slightly, but he kept his professional composure. "Of course. I'll ask him right away." After he left, Evelyn sat on the edge of her bed, heart beating fast. What had she just done? Invited her driver to a society gala? Her mother would have a fit. But the thought of facing another night of empty conversations made her chest tight. At least with Marcus there, she'd have someone real to talk to. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Don't forget your grandmother's diamond bracelet. It complements the Shaw Foundation donor pin." Evelyn sighed. Even her jewelry had a job to do. At 6:45, Evelyn stood in the foyer, clutching her small handbag. She'd chosen a simple silver bracelet instead of her grandmother's diamonds. It felt like a tiny rebellion. When Marcus appeared at the door, he was still wearing his usual driver's uniform, a well-pressed dark suit, though without the cap he sometimes wore. "Mr. Patel said you wanted to see me, Miss Shaw?" His voice was deep and measured, like always. Evelyn suddenly felt foolish. Yes, I was wondering if you might like to attend the gala tonight, as my guest. When he didn't immediately respond, she added quickly, "If you have other plans, I completely understand." Marcus studied her face. "May I ask why?" The direct question caught her off guard. "Honestly, I can't face another night of fake smiles and empty chatter. I thought it might be nice to have someone real to talk to." She met his eyes. Someone who sees people as people, not as walking bank accounts. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Evelyn could almost see him thinking, weighing options. "This isn't part of my job," he said finally. "I know, it's not an order, it's an invitation." Evelyn felt her cheeks warm. "A personal one." Another pause, then a small nod. "All right." Relief flooded through her. "Thank you." "I should warn you, people will talk." "People always talk," Evelyn said with a small smile. "At least this time it might be about something interesting." At 7:20, their car pulled up to the historic Wentworth Hotel. Camera flashes popped as they approached the entrance, mostly for the celebrities and big donors, but a few caught Evelyn and Marcus as they stepped onto the red carpet. Evelyn felt the stares immediately. She heard the whispers too. "Is that Evelyn Shaw, with her driver?" "Didn't know the Shaw Foundation was making such progressive statements." Marcus walked beside her, back straight, eyes forward. His calm steadied her. He offered his arm as they climbed the steps, and she took it gratefully. Inside the grand ballroom, crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over everything. Waiters circulated with champagne flutes on silver trays. Evelyn recognized most of the faces. Boston's elite society, the same crowd at every charity function. Her friend Lila Hart spotted her from across the room and hurried over, eyes wide with curiosity. "Evelyn, you didn't tell me you were bringing someone." Her gaze flickered to Marcus, then back to Evelyn. "Lila, this is Marcus Reed," Evelyn said. "Marcus, this is my friend Lila." "Nice to meet you," Marcus said, extending his hand. Lila shook it, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "Likewise, so how do you two know each other?" Before Evelyn could answer, another friend joined them, Bethany, whose family owned half the real estate in Back Bay. "Evelyn, darling!" Bethany air-kissed both of Evelyn's cheeks, then gave Marcus an appraising look. "And who's this?" "Marcus Reed," Evelyn said. "My guest for the evening." "How interesting," Bethany said, her tone suggesting it was anything but. "Is this some kind of experiment?" Evelyn felt her cheeks burn. "No, it's called bringing a friend to a party. People do it all the time." Bethany's eyebrows shot up. She exchanged a look with Lila, and they both smiled in a way that made Evelyn's stomach tighten. "We should find our table," Evelyn said, taking Marcus's arm again. As they made their way across the room, Marcus leaned down slightly. "You okay?" he asked quietly. "I'm fine," she said, though her heart was racing. "I'm sorry about them." "Don't be. I've heard worse." Their table was near the front, with a good view of the stage. A place card, labeled Guest of Miss Shaw, sat in front of Marcus's place setting. He straightened it without comment and pulled out Evelyn's chair for her. As they settled in, Evelyn introduced Marcus to the others at their table. A retired judge and his wife, a museum director, and a surgeon who served on the Shaw Foundation board. They were polite but reserved, their curious glances saying more than their words. During the champagne service before dinner, Evelyn excused herself to say hello to some family friends. When she returned, she overheard a woman at the next table, Diane Kessler, whose family wealth came from old shipping money, speaking just loudly enough to be heard. "I suppose it's trendy now, isn't it? Making a statement with your +1?" Her laughter tinkled like ice in a glass. "Though I wonder if Vivian Shaw knows her daughter is playing social justice warrior tonight." Evelyn froze, humiliation washing over her. Before she could think of a response, Marcus spoke. "I believe the focus tonight is on raising money for children's education," he said, his voice calm and measured. "Perhaps that deserves our attention more than who's accompanying whom." Diane blinked, clearly not expecting him to respond, or to respond so respectfully. She turned away without another word. Evelyn slid back into her seat, grateful and impressed. "Thank you," she whispered. Marcus simply nodded, his expression revealing nothing. The lights dimmed, and the MC tapped the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 35th Annual Haven Gala." After a brief introduction, the MC introduced this year's honoree, Dr. Eleanor Whitfield, a pediatric surgeon who had pioneered a new technique for heart surgeries in infants. Dr. Whitfield took the stage to warm applause. She was an elegant woman in her 60s, with silver hair and a commanding presence. "Thank you all for this recognition," she began. "The work we do at Boston Children's Hospital is only possible because of the generous support from organizations like the Haven Foundation." She continued, sharing stories of children whose lives had been saved, thanking her team and colleagues. Then she paused, looking out over the audience. "I'd like to share something personal, if I may. Last month, my father, who is 92 years old, was driving to his weekly bridge game when he had a minor accident. His car skidded on a wet road and hit the guardrail. The room grew quiet, everyone wondering where this story was going. He wasn't hurt badly, but he was shaken up, and his car was damaged. A young man stopped to help him, called for assistance, stayed with him until the tow truck came, and even drove him home afterward." Dr. Whitfield smiled. "That young man is here tonight, and I want to publicly thank him." She looked directly at their table. "Mr. Marcus Reed, would you please stand?" Evelyn turned to Marcus in surprise. His eyes had widened slightly, the most shock she'd ever seen him display. He stood slowly. "My father speaks of your kindness every time I visit him," Dr. Whitfield continued. "You turned what could have been a traumatic experience into one that restored his faith in humanity." "Thank you." The audience applauded. Around the room, staff members, waiters, bartenders, coat check attendants whispered to each other. "That's him, Marcus." Evelyn felt her eyes well up. She blinked back tears as Marcus sat down, looking almost embarrassed by the attention. Under the table, she touched the edge of his program with her fingertips. He gave a small, almost embarrassed nod in response. For the rest of Dr. Whitfield's speech, Evelyn couldn't stop stealing glances at Marcus. Who was this man who had worked for her family for nearly a year? She'd always respected his professionalism, but she realized now she knew very little about him as a person. Between dinner courses, Evelyn suggested they step out for some air. They found a small balcony overlooking the hotel gardens, lit by soft landscape lighting. "So," Evelyn said once they were alone, "you're a hero." Marcus shook his head. "I just helped an elderly man. Anyone would have done the same." "I'm not so sure about that." Evelyn leaned against the stone balustrade. "Why didn't you ever mention it?" He shrugged. "It wasn't relevant to my job." "Is that how you see everything? As relevant to your job or not?" "In your household? Yes." His honesty surprised her. "It's safer that way." "Safer?" "I have responsibilities. My sister Tasha is in nursing school. I need this job." He looked out at the gardens. "People in your world, they make assumptions about people who look like me. Being private makes things simpler." Evelyn felt a pang of shame. "I'm sorry about tonight." "About Bethany and the others. I didn't think about how it would feel for you." "It's okay. I'm used to it." "That's what makes it not okay." Evelyn turned to face him fully. "Look, can we be honest? I invited you because I was lonely. Because these events make me feel empty and fake, and you're the most real person I know. But I didn't consider how it would affect you. Marcus studied her face. What do you want from tonight, Evelyn? It was the first time he'd used her first name. It felt significant. Just conversation, company? She met his eyes. No performance, no expectations, just two people talking. He nodded slowly. I can do that. The balcony door opened, and Vivian Shaw appeared, elegant in midnight blue. Her eyes narrowed slightly at the sight of her daughter standing close to Marcus in the shadows. Evelyn, may I have 2 minutes? Her voice was pleasant, but her tight smile spoke volumes. Of course, Mother. Evelyn shot an apologetic look at Marcus, then followed her mother into the hallway. What exactly are you doing? Vivian asked once they were alone. Attending a charity gala? Just like you asked me to. Don't be cute, you know what I mean. Half the donors are talking about your choice of companion. Evelyn crossed her arms. Marcus is a good person. Dr. Whitfield just publicly thanked him. That's not the point. Vivian glanced down the hallway where Marcus waited, respectfully keeping his distance. What message are you trying to send? No message. I wanted company tonight, someone real to talk to. There are hundreds of guests here, many of them your age, from good families. Yet you choose your driver? Vivian's voice dropped lower. People are starting to wonder if this is some kind of statement. The only statement is that I like talking to him more than most people here. Evelyn kept her voice steady. He's kind and honest. Those seem like good qualities in a friend. Vivian sighed. Evelyn, I know you have a good heart, but you need to think about how things look. The Shaw Foundation depends on relationships, on trust. We can't afford to be controversial. There's nothing controversial about treating people with respect. Down the hall, Lila appeared, heading for the ladies' room. She slowed when she saw the tense conversation, her face showing a flicker of concern. Vivian noticed her too and straightened her shoulders. We'll discuss this later. Just be careful. She walked away, nodding briefly to Lila as they passed. Evelyn rejoined Marcus, who was still waiting patiently by the balcony door. Everything okay? He asked. Fine, just mother-daughter stuff. Evelyn forced a smile. Do you want to leave? I'd understand. Marcus considered for a moment. No, he said finally. Let's finish dinner. After dinner, the orchestra began playing, and couples moved to the dance floor. Evelyn watched them for a while, then turned to Marcus. Would you dance with me? Just one? She smiled. No pressure. The music's nice, that's all. Marcus hesitated, then nodded. One dance. On the dance floor, he placed his hand lightly on her waist, keeping a respectful distance between them. He moved with surprising grace. You're a good dancer, Evelyn said. My mother insisted my sister and I take lessons when we were kids. A small smile softened his face. Said we might need it someday. Smart woman. She was. The past tense hung in the air, but Evelyn didn't press. Instead, she let herself enjoy the moment, the music, the gentle sway, the feeling of being held by someone who asked nothing of her. Then both their phones buzzed at the same time. They stepped apart, each checking their screens. It was an alert from a local gossip blog. A photo of them dancing, with the caption, Shaw Heiress slums it for a night, making a statement or just slumming. Evelyn's stomach dropped. Around them, she noticed people glancing at their phones, then looking up at her and Marcus, whispering. Across the room, Vivian was already signaling for the car. I'm so sorry, Evelyn whispered. Marcus's face had gone carefully blank again, his eyes unreadable. We should go. We don't have to. We could. Evelyn. His voice was gentle but firm. If you want to leave, we can. It's your call. She looked around at the whispering, staring crowd, then back at Marcus. Let's go. Together. Head high. They walked out side by side, not touching but in step with each other. Evelyn nodded politely to those who caught her eye, refusing to show embarrassment. Marcus kept his gaze straight ahead, his posture dignified. Outside, the night air was cool against Evelyn's flushed skin. The car arrived, and this time, Marcus opened the back door for her, then went around to the driver's side. The drive home was quiet, city lights sliding across the windshield, casting moving shadows across their faces. Neither spoke, but the silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was thoughtful, weighted with questions neither was ready to ask. When they reached the Shaw townhouse, Marcus walked her to the door, as he always did. Thank you, Evelyn said simply. For coming tonight. For everything. Marcus nodded. Good night, Miss Shaw. Evelyn, she corrected gently. A pause. Good night, Evelyn. She watched him walk back to the car, wondering what tomorrow would bring. For the first time in a long time, she was actually curious to find out. Morning light streamed through the kitchen windows of the Shaw townhouse. Evelyn sat at the marble island, stirring her coffee while scrolling through her tablet. The gossip blog photo from last night had spread to other sites. Most of the comments were unkind. Vivian Shaw entered, already dressed for her foundation board meeting in a tailored navy suit. She poured herself coffee and stood across from her daughter. I've drafted a clarifying note, she said, sliding her phone toward Evelyn. It simply states that you are accompanying a valued employee to recognize his community service that Dr. Whitfield mentioned. Evelyn didn't touch the phone. I'm not sending any note. Evelyn, we need to get ahead of this. The headline is mean and wrong. Evelyn closed her tablet. Sending a clarifying note just makes it look like I did something I need to explain? Vivian sighed. I'm trying to protect you, and our family name. From what? Being seen with someone who isn't in our social circle? Evelyn shook her head. Besides, Marcus isn't just an employee to me, he's... She hesitated, not quite sure what to call him. He seems like a fine young man, Vivian said carefully. That's not the issue, it's the perception, the questions it raises about your judgment. My judgment is fine. It's everyone else's that needs work. Mr. Patel entered with a fresh pot of coffee, his timing perfect as always. He refilled their cups without comment. Will you need the car at 10, Miss Shaw? He asked Evelyn. Evelyn thought about it. She wanted to see Marcus, to make sure he was okay after last night. But not like this, not with him driving her around like nothing had changed. No, thank you, she said. I'll take a rideshare. After her mother left for her meeting, Evelyn went upstairs to change. She chose jeans and a simple blue sweater instead of her usual designer clothes. Then she took out her phone and sent Marcus a text. Thank you for your steadiness last night. I'm sorry about the photo. Can we talk? His reply came a few minutes later. I'm at Riverside Cafe until 11. It wasn't quite an invitation, but it wasn't a rejection either. Evelyn ordered a rideshare and headed out. The Riverside Cafe was in a modest neighborhood a few miles from the Shaw townhouse. It had mismatched furniture and local art on the walls, nothing like the sleek coffee shops in Evelyn's part of town. She spotted Marcus at a corner table by the window. He was reading something on his phone, a half-empty mug in front of him. He wore jeans and a green Henley shirt rather than his usual work suit. The casual clothes suited him. When he looked up and saw her, surprise flickered across his face. He stood as she approached. You came, he said. Is that okay? Evelyn suddenly felt unsure. I can go if you'd rather be alone. No, it's fine. He gestured to the chair across from his. I just didn't expect you to come all the way over here. Evelyn sat down. I wanted to see you somewhere that isn't work. Equal footing. Marcus nodded, understanding in his eyes. Equal footing. I like that. Should I get coffee first? I'll get it. He started to rise. No, please. Evelyn smiled. Equal footing, remember? I can get my own coffee. She went to the counter and ordered a latte, then returned to the table. Marcus was watching her with a thoughtful expression. What? She asked. Nothing, it's just different seeing you here. Different good or different bad? Just different. He took a sip of his coffee. So, you wanted to talk? Evelyn nodded. First, I want to say sorry again about that photo and the caption. It was cruel. I've heard worse. His voice was matter of fact. But thank you. Also, I think we should set some ground rules, if we're going to be... She trailed off, not sure what word to use. Friends? Marcus suggested. Yes, friends. Evelyn smiled, relieved. First rule, no work talk when we're hanging out like this. Agreed. And we're equals here, no Miss Shaw stuff. Marcus nodded. Already dropped that last night, if you recall. True. Evelyn felt her cheeks warm at the memory of him saying her name. Any rules you want to add? He thought for a moment. Honesty. If either of us feels uncomfortable, we say so. I like that. Evelyn took a sip of her latte. So, tell me something about yourself that I don't know. That's a pretty open question. You don't know much about me. Fair point. Let's start simple. What do you like to do when you're not working? Marcus relaxed slightly. I run in the mornings. 3 miles, usually along the river. I read a lot, mostly history and biographies. And I sketch. Sketch? Like drawing? He nodded. Buildings, mostly. It helps quiet my mind. I'd love to see your sketches sometime. Evelyn paused, wondering if that was too forward, but Marcus didn't seem bothered. What about you? He asked. What does Evelyn Shaw do when she's not at galas? Honestly, not much that's interesting. She traced the rim of her mug with her finger. I volunteer at the Literacy Center twice a week. I read a lot, too, fiction mostly. And I like walking in the public garden, watching people and making up stories about them. Making up stories? It's silly, I know. But sometimes, I see someone and wonder what their life is like, where they're going, what makes them happy or sad. It's not silly, Marcus said. It means you're curious about people. That's good. Their conversation flowed easily after that. They discovered they'd both read and loved the same historical novel about the Underground Railroad. Marcus told her about his favorite spot along the river, where blue herons sometimes fished in the early morning. Evelyn shared how she'd briefly considered becoming a teacher before family pressure steered her toward foundation work. Time slipped by, and soon it was nearly noon. As Marcus pulled on his jacket to leave, he had a short afternoon shift with another client. Evelyn noticed frayed stitching along the sleeve. Hey, she said. I was thinking of browsing some shops before heading home. There's a good menswear place around the corner. Want to check it out? Marcus paused, something careful entering his expression. Why? Evelyn realized her mistake too late. I just thought, your jacket needs replacing. His voice was even, but she could sense the shift in his mood. I didn't mean, it's fine, but I'm good, thanks. Evelyn pressed on, flustered. They're having a sale. I was going to look for something for my cousin's birthday anyway. Marcus studied her for a long moment. Then he sighed. All right, a quick look. The menswear shop was small but elegant, with dark wood shelving and soft lighting. A salesman approached them as they entered. Good afternoon. How can I help you today? Just browsing, thanks. Marcus said before Evelyn could speak. They walked through the store, looking at shirts and jackets. Evelyn noticed Marcus checking price tags when he thought she wasn't looking, his expression growing more reserved. Then she spotted a charcoal gray suit that would look perfect on him. "What do you think of this one?" she asked, trying to sound casual. Marcus glanced at it, then at the price tag. "Nice, but not really my style." "I think it would suit you. Why not try it on?" A flicker of something, frustration, hurt, crossed his face. "Evelyn, what are we doing here?" "Just shopping." "No, you're looking for a suit for me." His voice was low, ensuring the salesman couldn't hear. "Were you planning to buy it for me?" Evelyn hesitated, then decided on honesty. "I thought about it. Would that be so terrible?" "Yes." The word was gentle but firm. "It would. But I don't want to be a charity case." Marcus kept his voice down, but his eyes were intense. "I don't need rescuing. That's not what I was doing." "Isn't it?" He stepped back from the suit rack. "Look, I appreciate the thought, but I don't want your money. I want your respect." The words hit Evelyn hard. Of course he didn't want her buying him things. How would that look? How would it feel? She'd been thinking about herself, not him. "You're right," she said quietly. "I'm sorry. I overstepped." Marcus's expression softened. "It's okay. You meant well." "Can we start over?" Evelyn asked. "Maybe take a walk instead?" He checked his watch. "I have time for a short one." Outside, they headed toward the river, the tension between them easing with each block. When they reached the walkway along the water, Evelyn stopped and turned to him. "Thank you for being direct with me," she said. "For telling me when I crossed a line. Thanks for hearing me." Marcus looked out at the water. "Most people in your position wouldn't. I'm trying to be better than most people in my position." He smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes. "I've noticed." They walked along the river, talking about safer topics, favorite movies, childhood memories, best and worst books they'd read recently. When they reached a bench overlooking a bend in the river, they sat down to rest. A spring breeze lifted the napkin from Evelyn's coffee. As she caught it, Marcus took a small sketchbook from his back pocket and began drawing quick, sure lines. "What are you sketching?" she asked. "The hotel from last night." He worked as he spoke, his hands moving with practiced precision. "Those cornices have amazing detail if you look closely." Evelyn moved closer to see. The sketch was simple but elegant, just the top portion of the hotel's facade, with careful attention to the ornate stonework. "That's really good," she said, genuinely impressed. "You have serious talent." Marcus shrugged, but she could tell he was pleased. "I studied architecture for a while." "You did? Where?" "MIT, got a scholarship." He added more details to the sketch. "Made it through 2 years." "What happened?" Evelyn asked, then quickly added, "If you don't mind me asking." Marcus was quiet for a moment, focused on his drawing. Then he said, "My mom got sick. Cancer. I dropped out to help with her care and to support Tasha. She was still in high school then." "I'm so sorry." "It was tough, but we got through it." He didn't mention that his mother hadn't survived, but Evelyn remembered his use of past tense the night before. "Did you ever think about going back?" she asked. "Sometimes, but life moved on. Tasha got into nursing school. I found steady work." He closed the sketchbook. Dreams change. Evelyn felt a swell of admiration for this man who had sacrificed so much for his family, who helped elderly strangers on roadsides and sketched beautiful buildings from memory, yet asked for nothing. Her phone buzzed with a text. It was from Lila. "Dinner Friday? Just us. I owe you." Then another text. Bring Marcus if you want. Jake would like to meet him. Evelyn looked up at Marcus. My friend Lila, from last night, just invited us to dinner on Friday. Would you want to go? Marcus raised an eyebrow. Us? As in, both of us? Yes, with her and her boyfriend Jake. Evelyn showed him the text. No pressure. It's just dinner. He considered it for a moment. Okay, but I'm not wearing a suit. Evelyn laughed. Deal. Friday evening, Evelyn took a rideshare to Lila's apartment in Cambridge. Marcus met her outside the building, holding a bottle of wine. You look nice, she said. He wore dark jeans and a blue button-down shirt, simple but well-fitting. Thanks. You too. His eyes took in her casual dress and cardigan, much more relaxed than her usual gala attire. They rode the elevator to the 5th floor, both a little nervous. This was the first time they'd see one of Evelyn's friends since the gala. Lila opened the door before they could knock. You came. She hugged Evelyn, then extended her hand to Marcus. I'm so glad you could make it, Marcus. Her warmth seemed genuine, which surprised both of them. Inside, the apartment was cozy and artsy, with mismatched furniture and framed concert posters on the walls. Jake, Lila's boyfriend, was in the kitchen stirring something that smelled delicious. He wiped his hands on a towel and came to greet them. Hey, I'm Jake. Great to meet you both. He shook their hands with a firm grip. Hope you like paella. Smells amazing, Marcus said. Jake's a chef at Mariposa downtown, Lila explained. We get the benefit of his experiments. Lucky you, Evelyn said. As they settled in the living room with drinks, Lila cleared her throat. Before we get too comfortable, I want to apologize to both of you. She looked directly at Marcus. The way I acted at the gala was rude and shallow. I'm really sorry. Marcus nodded. Thank you for saying that. I should have stood up for you both, she continued. Instead, I let Bethany set the tone, which was pretty awful. Water under the bridge, Evelyn said, touched by her friend's honesty. Not quite. Lila took a sip of her wine. I've been thinking a lot about that night, about how quickly everyone jumped to conclusions and made judgments, myself included. She sighed. Anyway, I wanted you both to know I'm sorry, and I'm working on being better. We all are, Marcus said quietly. The tension broken, the evening flowed easily after that. Jake and Marcus discovered a shared love of classic movies. Lila told stories about her work at an art gallery. Evelyn found herself laughing more than she had in months. By the time they finished the paella and moved on to dessert, it felt like they'd known each other for years rather than hours. So, how did you two meet? Jake asked as he served slices of cheesecake. Evelyn and Marcus exchanged a glance. Marcus works for my family, Evelyn said honestly. But that's not why I invited him to the gala. I invited him because he's one of the most genuine people I know. Marcus looked surprised by her words, but pleased. Later, in the elevator heading down, Evelyn turned to him. That was nice. Normal. Yeah, it was. Marcus smiled. Your friend Lila is better than I thought. She is when she's being herself, not trying to please everyone else. Evelyn hesitated. It's raining. Want to walk for a bit anyway? Sure. Outside, a light spring rain fell on the quiet street. They walked slowly, shoulders occasionally brushing, neither in a hurry to end the evening. I had a really good time tonight, Evelyn said. Me too. Marcus glanced at her. It's funny how different everything is outside of work. Outside of expectations. They reached the Shaw townhouse stoop. The rain had picked up a bit, leaving droplets on Evelyn's hair and Marcus's shoulders. Thank you for coming tonight, she said. For giving Lila a second chance. Everyone deserves a second chance. His eyes were warm in the glow of the porch light. Evelyn felt a pull toward him, a quiet, steady attraction that had been building since the night of the gala. Before she could overthink it, she leaned forward and kissed him lightly on the lips. It was soft and brief, but she felt his sharp intake of breath. When she pulled back, his eyes were questioning. "Was that okay?" she whispered. Instead of answering, he cupped her face gently and kissed her back, a tender, unhurried kiss that made her heart race. His lips were warm despite the cool rain, and when they parted, Evelyn felt steadier than she had in years. "More than okay," he said quietly. The moment was broken by headlights sweeping across the street as a car turned the corner. At the same time, both their phones lit up with notification alerts. Evelyn pulled hers from her pocket, dread pooling in her stomach. It was another gossip alert. Heiress continues slumming tour. Sources say mother furious. There was a grainy photo of them leaving Lila's apartment building, walking close together in the rain. "How did they even?" Evelyn began, but her phone started ringing. It was her mother. Marcus saw the caller ID and stepped back slightly. "You should take that." Evelyn hesitated, torn between answering and staying in this moment with him. "It's okay," he said. "Take it. I'll wait." She nodded and answered the call. "Hello, Mother." Vivian's voice was tight with controlled anger. "Have you seen it? The new photo?" "Yes, just now." "This has to stop, Evelyn. The board is concerned. Donors are asking questions." "About what? Me having dinner with friends?" "About you flaunting this, whatever it is, with an employee. It looks bad." "It's not whatever it is. His name is Marcus, and he's important to me." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. When Vivian spoke again, her voice was colder. "You need to make a choice. Your position at the foundation comes with responsibilities. Image matters." "Are you asking me to choose between the foundation and my friend?" Evelyn's voice rose slightly. "I'm asking you to think about the consequences of your actions, for everyone involved." The call ended, and Evelyn stared at her phone in disbelief. When she looked up, Marcus's face had become unreadable again, his expression closed off. "Marcus!" "I heard enough," he said quietly. "Your mother's right about one thing. This affects more than just us." "What are you saying?" He took a deep breath. "I'm saying we need to think this through. Carefully. There's a lot at stake. I don't care about the gossip blogs or what people think. But you care about your family, your foundation work." His eyes were sad but resolute. "And I care about my job, about supporting Tasha." Evelyn felt a cold weight settling in her chest. "So that's it? One nasty headline and we just give up?" "I didn't say that." Marcus reached out and squeezed her hand briefly. "I said we need to think, that's all." A car turned onto the street, the rideshare Marcus had called earlier. He stepped back as it pulled up to the curb. "Good night, Evelyn," he said softly. "Thank you for tonight." She watched him walk to the car, wishing she could call him back, wishing things were simpler. But as the car pulled away, she knew he was right. There was a lot at stake, for both of them. Inside the townhouse, Evelyn found her mother waiting in the study. Vivian's face was a mask of controlled concern. "We need to discuss this," she said without preamble. "Not tonight." Evelyn headed for the stairs. "I'm tired." "Evelyn, be reasonable. Think about what you're doing." "What am I doing that's so terrible? Having dinner with friends? Kissing someone I care about?" Vivian's eyes widened at the word kissing. She took a deep breath. "You're putting yourself, this family, and the foundation in a difficult position. And you're putting Marcus in an even worse one. How? He works for us, Evelyn. How does this look to other staff? To the board? And what happens when this infatuation runs its course? He loses his job? His reputation? The words stung because they touched on fears Evelyn had been trying to ignore. Was she being selfish? Putting her own desires above what was best for Marcus? It's not an infatuation, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. Whatever it is, it needs to end, for everyone's sake. Vivian's tone softened slightly. I'm not being cruel, Evelyn. I'm being practical. Evelyn didn't answer. She went upstairs to her room and closed the door, her mind spinning with doubts and fears. What if her mother was right? What if pursuing this relationship would only hurt Marcus in the end? She sent him a text. I'm sorry about my mother, about all of this. His reply came a few minutes later. It's complicated. Get some rest. We'll figure it out. But by morning, they wouldn't have the chance, because Marcus had already made his decision. The next morning, Mr. Patel knocked on Evelyn's bedroom door. Miss Shaw, I thought you should know. Mr. Reed came by early this morning. He's resigned his position. Evelyn sat up in bed, heart pounding. What? Why? He didn't say much, just left his keys and ID badge on my desk with a note thanking the family for the opportunity. Mr. Patel hesitated. He seemed resolved. Did he leave contact information? A forwarding address? No, miss, though I imagine he can be reached at his usual number. Evelyn grabbed her phone and called Marcus, but it went straight to voicemail. She sent a text. Please call me. We need to talk. Mr. Patel cleared his throat. There was one other thing. A courier delivered this while you were still asleep. He handed her an envelope addressed to Marcus Reed, C.O. Shaw Residence. Thank you, Mr. Patel. After he left, Evelyn stared at the envelope, wondering if she should open it. Technically, it was addressed to someone who no longer worked here, but Mr. Patel had given it to her, and it might contain information about where Marcus had gone. She carefully opened it. Inside was a handwritten note and a small photo. The note read, Dear Mr. Reed, I wanted to personally thank you again for your kindness to my father last month. He still talks about that fine young man who helped him when others drove past. You restored his faith in humanity at a time when he needed it most. The enclosed photo was taken by a passerby who emailed it to my father afterward. I thought you might like to have it. With deepest gratitude, Eleanor Whitfield, M.D. The photo showed Marcus helping an elderly man into a car, his face focused and kind as he supported the man's elbow. It was a simple moment of human decency, captured by chance. Evelyn felt tears welling in her eyes. This was who Marcus was. Someone who helped others without expectation of reward or recognition. Someone with quiet dignity and strength. And she'd let him walk away. She got dressed quickly and headed downstairs. As she passed the front windows, she saw Marcus on the sidewalk outside, walking away from the house with his shoulders straight and his head high. She rushed to the door and pulled it open. Marcus, she called. He turned, surprise evident on his face. For a moment, they just looked at each other across the distance. Then he continued walking, and Evelyn felt her heart sink. But she understood. He was making the choice he thought was right, the one that protected his dignity and his sister's security. She watched him until he turned the corner and disappeared from sight. Then she went back inside, the photo and note still clutched in her hand. She placed them carefully on her desk, a reminder of what was real and true in a world of appearances and judgments. She had no idea how to fix this, or even if it could be fixed, but she knew she had to try. Because in the short time she'd known the real Marcus Reed, he'd shown her what it meant to live with integrity, and she couldn't go back to being the person she was before. Evelyn sat in her study, staring at the thank you note and photo of Marcus. She'd been there for hours, turning over thoughts in her mind. The sunlight had moved across her desk, warming the photo in a gentle glow. What had she done? She'd invited Marcus into her world without considering the consequences for him. She'd put him in an impossible position, forced to choose between his dignity and his job. And when it mattered most, when those cruel headlines appeared, she hadn't spoken up. She'd let her mother's concerns about optics and donor relationships silence her. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called. Mr. Patel entered with a small tray of tea. "I thought you might need this." His kind eyes took in her troubled expression. "May I speak freely, Miss Shaw?" "Of course." He set the tray down and poured tea into a delicate cup. "I've worked for your family for 17 years. I've watched you grow from a bright young girl into a thoughtful woman." He handed her the cup. "In all that time, I've rarely seen you as happy as you were these past few days." Evelyn's throat tightened. "I messed up, Mr. Patel." "Perhaps, but mistakes can be fixed if we have the courage." "Marcus resigned because of me, because I put him in an impossible situation." Mr. Patel considered this. "Mr. Reed made his choice to protect what matters most to him, his dignity and his sister's well-being." He paused. "The question is, what will you choose to protect?" His words hung in the air as he quietly left the room. Evelyn sipped her tea, letting the question settle in her heart. What did she want to protect? Her comfortable life? Her mother's approval? Or something deeper? The connection she'd found with Marcus, the first real thing she'd felt in years? She picked up the photo again. Here was Marcus at his most authentic, helping someone simply because it was right. No audience, no reward, just genuine goodness. She needed to talk to him, to apologize for her silence when it mattered. But what if he didn't want to see her? There was only one way to find out. "Mr. Patel?" she called. He appeared almost immediately, as if he'd been waiting nearby. "Yes, Miss Shaw?" "Do you have Marcus's home address?" A small smile touched his lips. "I believe I do have that information in our employment files. Would you like me to find it for you?" "Please." He returned moments later with an address written on a folded piece of paper. "May I suggest a ride share rather than a family car? Less conspicuous." Evelyn smiled gratefully. "You always think of everything." "That's my job." He hesitated. "And Miss Shaw?" "Good luck." At noon, Evelyn's rideshare pulled up outside a modest apartment building in a working-class neighborhood. She checked the address Mr. Patel had given her, took a deep breath, and got out of the car. The building was clean but showing its age. Worn brick, metal mailboxes with peeling paint, a security door with a buzzer system. She found the name Reed next to Unit 3B and pressed the button before she could lose her nerve. After a moment, a female voice came through the speaker. "Hello? Hi, I'm looking for Marcus Reed." "He's not here right now. Can I help you?" "I'm Evelyn Shaw. I was hoping to talk to him." A pause. "Evelyn Shaw? As in his former boss?" "Yes. I need to speak with him. It's important." Another pause, longer this time. Then, "Third floor, apartment 3B." The door buzzed, and Evelyn pushed it open, heart pounding as she climbed the stairs. When she reached 3B, the door was already open, a young woman standing in the doorway with her arms crossed. She had Marcus's same warm brown eyes and steady gaze, but her expression was cautious. "I'm Tasha," she said. "Marcus's sister." Nice to meet you. Evelyn held out her hand. Is Marcus here? I really need to talk to him. Tasha didn't take her hand. He's picking up an extra shift at his second job. Won't be back for a couple hours. Oh. Evelyn's shoulders slumped. Could you tell him I stopped by? Or maybe I could wait? Tasha studied her for a long moment. Why are you here, Miss Shaw? I need to apologize to him for not speaking up when I should have. Something in Tasha's expression softened slightly. You're why he quit, aren't you? Not directly. But yes, the situation, it got complicated. Tasha sighed. You might as well come in. No point in standing in the hallway. She stepped aside, and Evelyn entered a small but neat apartment. The living room had a worn sofa, a coffee table stacked with textbooks, and a bookshelf filled with paperbacks. A few framed sketches hung on the walls, buildings and bridges drawn with the same precise hand she recognized from Marcus's sketchbook. Those are beautiful, Evelyn said, pointing to the sketches. Marcus's work. Tasha gestured for her to sit on the sofa. He's crazy talented. Was on track to be an architect before your mother got sick. Evelyn finished quietly. Tasha's eyebrows rose. He told you about that? A little, not much. That's Marcus. Tasha sat in a chair across from her. Private to a fault? He said you're in nursing school? Final year. Pride entered Tasha's voice. Graduate in June. That's wonderful. You must be excited. I am, and Marcus is even more excited. He's been working 2 jobs for years to help with tuition. Her eyes held Evelyn's. That job with your family was the steady one. Good pay, predictable hours. The implied accusation hung in the air. Evelyn felt her cheeks warm with shame. I never wanted him to quit, she said quietly. That wasn't my intention at all. What was your intention? When you invited him to that fancy party? The direct question caught Evelyn off guard, but she decided on complete honesty. At first, I just wanted company, someone real in a room full of fake people. She twisted her hands in her lap. But then, I got to know him. The real him, not just my driver. And I started to care about him. Tasha's expression remained skeptical. You do realize how this looks, right? Rich white lady playing with the help? It wasn't like that. Wasn't it? Tasha leaned forward. Because from where I sit, my brother had a good job that he needed, and now he doesn't. Because someone with privilege decided to blur the lines without thinking about the consequences. The words stung because they contained truth. Evelyn had acted without considering how it would affect Marcus's life, his work, his reputation. You're right, she admitted. I didn't think it through. I was selfish, but I want to make it right. How? By offering his job back, so he can drive you around and pretend nothing happened? No. Evelyn met Tasha's gaze directly. By apologizing to him, by telling him I care about him, the man, not the headline, and by asking what he wants, instead of assuming I know what's best. Something in Tasha's expression shifted. She studied Evelyn for a long moment, then got up and went to the kitchen. She returned with 2 mugs of tea. He likes you, you know, she said, handing Evelyn a mug. Really likes you. I haven't seen him like this since before Mom died. Hope flickered in Evelyn's chest. I like him too. A lot. He's worried about how it looks. Not for himself, but for me. For my future. Tasha sipped her tea. I'm about to start my career. He doesn't want rumors or gossip getting in the way. I understand that. Evelyn wrapped her hands around the warm mug. Family comes first for him. It's one of the things I admire most about him. They sat in thoughtful silence for a few minutes, drinking tea. Then, the sound of a key in the lock made them both look up. Marcus entered, his eyes widening when he saw Evelyn sitting on his couch. He was wearing a blue uniform shirt from a security company, looking tired but alert. "Evelyn, what are you doing here?" She stood quickly, nearly spilling her tea. "I needed to see you, to talk to you." His eyes flickered to Tasha, who shrugged. "She's been waiting for you. We've been chatting." An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. Tasha stood and gathered her textbooks. "I need to study for a test anyway. I'll be in my room." She gave Marcus a meaningful look as she passed him. "Hear her out, big brother." After she left, Marcus set down his keys and work bag. He looked uncertain, standing in his own living room. "Would you like to sit?" Evelyn asked, then immediately felt foolish for playing host in his apartment. A small smile tugged at his lips. "Sure." He sat in the chair Tasha had vacated. "So, you found me." "Mr. Patel had your address." Evelyn sat back down on the sofa. "I needed to apologize." "For what?" "For not speaking up when it mattered. For letting those headlines and my mother's concerns silence me." She met his eyes. "You deserved better than that." Marcus nodded, taking in her words. "Thank you, but I made my choice to resign." "I know, and I understand why." Evelyn leaned forward slightly. "But I want you to know that I'm here because I care about you, Marcus. Not as my driver, not as some statement or experiment. Just you, the man who helps strangers on roadsides and sketches beautiful buildings and puts his sister's needs before his own dreams." His expression softened, but wariness remained in his eyes. "It's not that simple, Evelyn. Your world and mine, they don't mix easily." "I know that too." She reached into her bag and pulled out the thank you note and photo. "This came for you. I hope you don't mind that I opened it. I was looking for, I don't know, some clue about where you'd gone." He took the envelope, reading the note and studying the photo with a small smile. "Dr. Whitfield, she's good people." He looked up at Evelyn. "Is this why you came? To give me this?" "No. I came because I couldn't let you walk away thinking I wasn't brave enough to choose you over appearances." Her voice caught. "Because I am." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked, "What exactly are you proposing, Evelyn?" It was a fair question. She hadn't thought that far ahead. "I don't know," she admitted. "I just know I want to see where this goes. I want to know you better. I want—" She struggled to find the right words. "I want to try. For real. No hiding, no pretending." "No hiding," he repeated thoughtfully. "That's easier said than done. Those gossip blogs already have us in their sights." "I don't care about them." "But you care about your family, your work." "Yes, and you care about Tasha and her future. So we need to find a way that works for both of us." Evelyn took a deep breath. "If you want to, that is." Marcus studied her face, his expression thoughtful. Then he leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "If we do this," he said slowly, "I have conditions." "Okay. First, no hiding, but no spotlight either. This is between us, not for public consumption." Evelyn nodded. "Agreed. Second, no fixing, no gifts, no financial help, no pulling strings. I stand on my own." "Of course." Third, we take it slow, really slow. Get to know each other properly." His eyes were serious. "No rushing because of the thrill or the novelty." "Slow sounds perfect," Evelyn said softly. "And finally, no tokenizing. I'm not your diversity statement or your rebellion against privilege. Just a man trying to figure out if there's something real here. That's all I want too. Something real." From the hallway came a small cough. Tasha stood there, clearly having listened to at least part of their conversation. "If I could add a condition," she said, coming back into the living room. "Family matters. My brother and I are a package deal." Evelyn smiled at her. "I wouldn't have it any other way." Tasha nodded, a small smile finally breaking through her serious expression. "In that case, I'm making cookies. You're welcome to stay." As she went to the kitchen, Marcus's posture relaxed slightly. "She doesn't offer cookies to just anyone, you know." "I'm honored." Evelyn hesitated, then asked, "So, are we going to try this? For real?" Marcus reached out and took her hand, his touch warm and steady. "Yes. Eyes open, feet on the ground. We'll try." The simple words filled her with more joy than all the gala invitations and designer dresses in her closet ever had. This was real. Messy, complicated, but real. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For giving us a chance, for being brave enough to set conditions instead of just walking away." He squeezed her hand gently. "You're the one who came looking for me. That took courage." From the kitchen came the sound of Tasha humming as she mixed cookie dough. Outside, rain began to patter against the windows. And between them, fingers intertwined, something steady and hopeful began to grow. Late that afternoon, Evelyn returned to the Shaw townhouse to find her mother waiting in the study. "Where have you been?" Vivian asked, her voice tight with worry. "You've been gone for hours." "I went to see Marcus." Vivian's expression hardened. "After he resigned? Why would you do that?" "Because I care about him." Evelyn kept her voice calm. "And because I owed him an apology." "An apology? For what?" "For not speaking up when those awful headlines came out. For caring more about appearances than what was right." Vivian sighed heavily. "Evelyn, I know you think I'm being old-fashioned or difficult about this, but I'm trying to protect you. And the foundation." "I know you are." Evelyn sat down across from her mother. "But I'm not going to hide who I care about because it might make donors uncomfortable." "So you're still seeing him?" "Yes. We're going to take things slowly, see where it leads." Vivian pressed her fingertips to her temples. "This complicates everything. Only if we let it." Evelyn leaned forward. "Mother, I'm not making a statement or trying to rebel. I just connect with him in a way I haven't with anyone else." "And what about his job? Will he come back to work for us?" "No, that wouldn't be appropriate now." Evelyn straightened her shoulders. "And I'm resigning from the Hartwell Society board." Vivian's eyes widened. "That board has been in our family for 3 generations. And it's become nothing but a gossip mill. They were the ones who leaked those photos to the blogs." Evelyn's voice was firm. "I'll still work with the literacy program and the foundation's main initiatives. But I'm done with social circles that exist to judge and exclude." Her mother studied her with new eyes. "You really care about him, don't you?" "I do. Enough to make some changes in my life." Vivian was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I'd like to meet him." It was the last thing Evelyn expected to hear. "You've met him before." "As our driver, yes. Not as the man my daughter is seeing." Evelyn wasn't sure whether to be hopeful or wary. "Why?" "Because if he's important to you, I should know him, as a person." Vivian smoothed her skirt. "I'm not promising approval, Evelyn, but I am promising to listen." It was more than Evelyn had hoped for. "Thank you. I'll ask him if he's willing." Mr. Patel appeared in the doorway. "Pardon the interruption. I thought you might like to know that a courier delivered this while you were out." He handed Evelyn an envelope. Inside was a formal letter accepting her resignation from the Hartwell Society board, effective immediately. News traveled fast in their circle. The letter was cool and professional, but the message was clear. They were glad to see her go. Evelyn handed it to her mother, who read it with a slight frown. They didn't waste any time. I'm not surprised. Evelyn felt lighter already, free of the obligation to care what those people thought. Vivian set the letter down. They've always been a pretentious group. Your grandmother couldn't stand them either. The unexpected support made Evelyn smile. Thanks, Mother. Later that night, as she got ready for bed, Evelyn texted Marcus. My mother wants to meet you. As you, not as our driver. Would you be willing? His reply came a few minutes later. As long as she's ready to hear the truth, I won't pretend to be something I'm not. That's exactly why she should meet you. Evelyn wrote back. How about coffee tomorrow? Neutral territory. Riverside Cafe at 10? Perfect. Thank you for being willing to try. Thank you for being worth the try. Good night, Evelyn. She fell asleep with his words warming her heart, feeling more hopeful than she had in a very long time. The next morning, Evelyn and her mother arrived at the Riverside Cafe a few minutes before 10. Vivian looked out of place in her designer suit and pearls, but she held her head high as they entered. Marcus was already there, sitting at a corner table. He stood when he saw them, his expression carefully neutral. Mrs. Shaw, he said, extending his hand. Thank you for coming. Vivian shook his hand. Mr. Reed, thank you for agreeing to meet. They sat down, an awkward silence falling over the table. Evelyn looked between them, not sure how to start. The waitress came to take their orders, a small blessing that broke the ice. After she left, Vivian folded her hands on the table. Mr. Reed. Marcus, please. Marcus. Vivian nodded. I'll be direct. I have concerns about this relationship with my daughter. I understand that. Do you? Evelyn has responsibilities, a position in the community. People look to our family as an example. Marcus met her gaze evenly. With respect, Mrs. Shaw, I think Evelyn sets a better example by being authentic than by living to please others. Vivian's eyebrows rose slightly. And you believe you make her more authentic? I believe she was already authentic. She just needed someone to see it. He glanced at Evelyn with warmth in his eyes. I do. The waitress returned with their coffees, giving Vivian a moment to consider his words. You resigned your position with our family, she said after taking a sip of her latte. Why? Because boundaries became blurred. It wasn't fair to anyone, not to Evelyn, not to me, not to the other staff. And what do you hope to gain from a relationship with my daughter? Marcus didn't hesitate. Her company, her perspective, her heart, if she chooses to share it. His voice was steady. I'm not interested in her money or her social position, Mrs. Shaw. I care about your daughter, not your circle. The blunt honesty seemed to catch Vivian off guard. She studied him carefully. You have a sister in nursing school, I understand? Yes, Tasha graduates in June. And you support her financially? I contribute. She has scholarships and works part-time herself. There was pride in his voice. You were studying architecture before your mother became ill? Marcus nodded, clearly wondering where these questions were leading. You sacrificed your education to care for your family. Vivian's tone had softened slightly. That shows character. It wasn't a sacrifice. It was a choice. Marcus looked her directly in the eye. Family comes first, always. Something in Vivian's expression shifted, a subtle change, but Evelyn noticed it. For the first time, her mother was seeing Marcus as a person with values and depth, not just as a complication. I won't pretend I'm comfortable with this situation. Vivian said finally. But I do appreciate your honesty and your respect for my daughter. Thank you. Marcus glanced at Evelyn. We're taking things slowly, getting to know each other properly. That's sensible. Vivian took another sip of her coffee. And your intentions? Mother! Evelyn protested, embarrassed, but Marcus answered calmly. My intention is to treat your daughter with respect and kindness, to be honest about what I can and can't offer, and to see where this leads, with open eyes. Vivian nodded slowly. Fair enough. She gathered her purse and stood. I should head to my meeting. Thank you for your time, Marcus. Evelyn stood too, surprised by the abrupt end to the conversation. I'll walk you out. Outside on the sidewalk, Vivian turned to her daughter. He's not what I expected. In a good way or a bad way? He's substantial, grounded. Vivian adjusted her scarf. I still have concerns, Evelyn. This won't be easy for either of you. I know, but some things are worth the effort. Vivian studied her daughter's face. You really care for him. I do. Then I'll try. That's all I can promise right now. It wasn't a blessing, but it was a beginning. Evelyn hugged her mother, a rare gesture between them. Thank you for coming today, for listening. Vivian squeezed her daughter's arms, then stepped back. Be careful with your heart, Evelyn, and with his. After her mother left, Evelyn returned to the cafe. Marcus was still at the table, waiting. That went better than I expected, he said as she sat down. Me too. Evelyn smiled. She said you were substantial. High praise from Vivian Shaw. The highest. Evelyn reached across the table and took his hand. Thank you for doing that. I know it wasn't easy. It was easier than I thought it would be. He squeezed her hand gently. Your mother loves you. She's trying to protect you. I know, but I'm a grown woman. I can make my own choices. She met his eyes. And I choose you. The words hung in the air between them, simple but profound. Marcus's expression softened, a smile warming his eyes. Then I'm a lucky man. Over the next 2 weeks, they found a rhythm together. Marcus had picked up more hours with his second job, working security at a downtown office building. Evelyn continued her foundation work, focusing on the literacy program that meant the most to her. They met for coffee or walks along the river, getting to know each other without the pressure of gossip blogs or family expectations. Tasha joined them occasionally, her initial wariness gradually warming to cautious acceptance. On Friday evening, Lila invited them for dinner again, this time with 2 other couples, friends of hers who knew nothing about the gossip or headlines. Just a normal dinner with friends, she promised Evelyn on the phone. No drama, no judgment. The evening turned out to be exactly that, simple, warm, and ordinary in the best possible way. They ate good food, talked about movies and books, laughed at Jake's cooking mishaps. No one asked awkward questions or made pointed remarks. They were just 6 people enjoying each other's company. As they left, Lila hugged Evelyn tightly. You look like yourself, she whispered. Happy. Real. On the sidewalk, outside, Marcus took Evelyn's hand as they walked toward the car he'd borrowed from a friend. That was nice, he said. Normal? Yes. Evelyn smiled up at him. I could get used to normal. Me too. He paused under a streetlight, looking down at her with warmth in his eyes. Would you like to come over for dinner tomorrow? At my place? Tasha's making her famous lasagna. I'd love to. The next evening, Evelyn brought a bottle of wine and a small potted herb plant for Tasha, a nursing school graduation gift. The 3 of them ate lasagna at the small kitchen table, talking and laughing like old friends. After dinner, while Tasha cleared the dishes, Marcus showed Evelyn more of his architectural sketches, dreams he'd put on hold but never abandoned. "These are amazing," she said, carefully turning the pages of his sketchbook. "You have a real gift." "Thanks." He pointed to a drawing of a community center. "I still think about going back someday, finishing my degree." "You should. The world needs architects with your eye and heart." He smiled, looking pleased and a little shy. "Maybe after Tasha graduates. We'll see." Later, as Evelyn was getting ready to leave, Tasha pulled her aside. "He's happier than I've seen him in years," she said quietly. "Thank you for that." "He makes me happy too," Evelyn replied, "more than I knew was possible." Tasha studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Good. Keep it that way." Outside, Marcus walked Evelyn to her rideshare. The night was cool but clear, stars visible between the city buildings. "Thank you for tonight," she said, "for sharing your home, your sketches, your dreams." "Thank you for listening." He took both her hands in his. "For seeing me." "I do see you, Marcus." Her voice was soft in the night air. "And what I see is wonderful." He leaned down and kissed her, a tender kiss that spoke of care and growing love. When they parted, he rested his forehead against hers for a moment. "Slow enough to last," he murmured. "What?" "That's what my mother used to say about the important things in life." His smile was gentle in the streetlight glow. "They should grow slowly enough to last." "I like that." Evelyn squeezed his hands. "Slow enough to last." As her car arrived, she carried those words with her, a promise and a hope wrapped into one. Whatever came next, whatever challenges they might face from family, society, or their own doubts, they would face it together, building something strong enough, real enough, to last. The following Thursday, Evelyn was in her study working on a grant proposal when Mr. Patel knocked on the door. "Mr. Reed is here to see you, Miss Shaw," he said, a slight smile touching his lips. "He's waiting in the foyer." Evelyn looked up in surprise. They hadn't planned to meet today. "Thank you, Mr. Patel. I'll be right down." She found Marcus standing in the foyer, looking more formal than usual in a button-down shirt and dark jeans. He seemed slightly nervous, hands in his pockets. "Marcus, this is a surprise." "A good one, I hope?" His smile was warm but tentative. "Of course. Is everything okay?" "Yes. I just wanted to talk to you about something, in person." He glanced around the formal entryway. "Could we sit somewhere?" "Sure. We can use my study." Upstairs, Marcus stood looking at the photos on her bookshelf. Evelyn as a child, with her parents at her college graduation, at various charity events. "You have a beautiful home," he said. "Thank you. It's been in the family for generations." Evelyn gestured for him to sit in one of the armchairs by the window. "So, what did you want to talk about?" Marcus sat, then leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I've been thinking about us, about how to move forward in a way that works for both of us." "Okay." Evelyn felt a flutter of nervousness. Was he having second thoughts? "I'm not coming back to work for your family," he said firmly. "That chapter is closed. But I'd like to be part of your life, in a real, sustainable way." Relief flooded through her. "I'd like that too. I was thinking we could set some practical rhythms, make plans, create space for each other in our lives, intentionally." He met her eyes. "If that's what you want." "It is." Evelyn smiled. "What did you have in mind?" "Weekly dinners, to start, sometimes at my place with Tasha, sometimes out somewhere quiet. Maybe a standing coffee date on Saturday mornings." His voice grew more confident as he spoke. "I'd like to take you to some of my favorite spots in the city, places you might not have seen before." "I'd love that." Evelyn moved to sit beside him, taking his hand. And I have places I'd like to share with you too. Marcus squeezed her hand gently. We'd have separate lives, separate apartments, separate jobs. But we'd build connections between them. Bridges. The architect in him was showing, Evelyn thought with a smile. Building bridges, creating structures that connected separate spaces. It sounds perfect, she said. Slow, steady, real. Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. I thought we could start by marking next Friday on our calendars. Dinner at that little Italian place near the river? Such a simple thing. Making a date, planning ahead. But it felt significant. A commitment to building something lasting. Evelyn took out her own phone, and together they marked the date in their calendar apps. Friday at 7, she said, saving the event. It's official. He smiled, relief and happiness lighting his face. Yes, it is. From the doorway came a small cough. They looked up to see Mr. Patel standing there. Pardon the interruption, he said. Mrs. Shaw asked if you and Mr. Reed would like to join her for tea in the garden. The roses are blooming, and it's quite pleasant outside. Evelyn glanced at Marcus, who nodded slightly. We'd love to, she told Mr. Patel. Thank you. As they headed downstairs, Marcus leaned close to her. Your mother inviting me for tea? Is that a good sign or a warning? Evelyn smiled. With my mother? Probably a little of both. But when they reached the garden, Vivian greeted them with surprising warmth, asking Marcus about his sister's upcoming graduation and actually listening to his answers. It wasn't perfect acceptance, but it was a beginning. A willingness to see him as part of Evelyn's life. As they sat among the blooming roses, sipping tea and making careful conversation, Evelyn felt a sense of peace settle over her. This was what real looked like. Not flawless or simple, but honest and brave. A quiet choice made day after day to see the person beside you, to honor their dignity, to build something lasting together. Marcus caught her eye across the table and smiled, a private smile just for her. She smiled back, her heart full of gratitude and hope. Whatever came next, they would face it together, step by step, building a love that was slow enough to last. Sunday morning dawned clear and warm, the perfect spring day. Evelyn packed a wicker basket with fresh bread, cheese, fruit, and a bottle of sparkling cider. Mr. Patel had helped her assemble the picnic, offering quiet suggestions about what would travel well. The checkered blanket is in the hall closet, Miss Shaw, he reminded her as she headed for the door. And don't forget a jacket. The river breeze can be cool, even on sunny days. Evelyn smiled gratefully. Thank you, Mr. Patel, for everything. The elderly household manager nodded, his eyes kind. Enjoy your day. Marcus was waiting for her at their agreed meeting spot, a bench near the entrance to Riverside Park. He wore jeans and a light blue t-shirt that complemented his warm brown skin. When he spotted her, his face lit up with a smile that made her heart beat faster. Need help with that? He asked, nodding toward the picnic basket. I've got it, Evelyn replied. But you can carry the blanket. They walked together along the river path, passing joggers, families with strollers, and other couples enjoying the beautiful day. No one gave them a second glance. They were just two people heading to the park, like countless others. How was your meeting yesterday? Marcus asked. Good. We secured funding for the literacy program through next year. Evelyn stepped carefully around a puddle from last night's rain. How was Tasha's graduation rehearsal? She was nervous but excited. Only 2 weeks to go now. Pride filled his voice. She already has a job lined up at Children's Hospital. That's wonderful. They found a quiet spot on a small hill overlooking the river. Marcus spread the blanket while Evelyn unpacked their picnic. As they settled onto the checkered cloth, a gentle breeze ruffled the grass around them. "This is nice," Marcus said, looking out at the water sparkling in the sunlight. "Peaceful?" "Yes." Evelyn handed him a plate. "It feels normal." He raised an eyebrow. "Is normal good?" "Normal is perfect." She smiled. "No galas, no gossip blogs, no expectations. Just us." They ate slowly, talking about books they'd read, movies they wanted to see, places they hoped to visit someday. Evelyn felt the last of her tension melt away in the warm sun and easy conversation. After they finished eating, Marcus pulled out his sketchbook and began drawing, his hands moving with practiced precision across the page. "What are you sketching?" Evelyn asked, leaning against his shoulder to see. "The bridge." He nodded toward the stone arch spanning the river. "I've always loved the way it catches the light in the morning." Evelyn watched him work, fascinated by how a few skilled strokes could capture the essence of the structure, its strength and beauty translated to paper. "You see things differently," she said after a while. "You notice details most people miss." Marcus smiled, still focused on his drawing. "My mother taught me that. She said the secret to really seeing something is to try drawing it." "Is that why you wanted to be an architect? To capture what you see?" He paused, considering her question. "Partly, but mostly I wanted to create spaces that make people feel something. Safe, inspired, connected." He glanced at her. "Buildings are more than structures. They're experiences." "I'd like to see the world through your eyes," Evelyn said softly. "To notice what you notice." Marcus set down his pencil and turned to face her. "I could show you, if you want." "How?" He handed her the sketchbook and pencil. "Draw with me." Evelyn took them hesitantly. "I'm not an artist. I can barely draw a stick figure." "It's not about making perfect pictures. It's about really looking." He moved closer, his voice gentle. "Pick something simple, that tree across the path. Just look at it for a minute. Notice the shape of the trunk, how the branches spread, where the light hits it." Evelyn studied the tree, trying to see it with new eyes. Then she began to draw, her lines hesitant and awkward. Marcus didn't correct her or take over. He simply watched, occasionally offering quiet encouragement. "That's it. Don't worry about getting it exactly right. Just capture what you see." When she finished, Evelyn looked critically at her rough sketch. "It's not very good." "But you saw the tree? Really saw it," Marcus said. "That's the point." He flipped to a new page in his sketchbook and quickly sketched the same tree. His version captured not just the shape, but the essence of it. The way one branch dipped lower than the others, how the leaves clustered thickly at the top. "Now you see it through my eyes too," he said, handing her the sketchbook. Evelyn looked from his drawing to the tree and back again. "Yes, I do." She smiled up at him. "Thank you." A comfortable silence settled between them as Marcus continued sketching and Evelyn leaned back on her elbows, face turned to the sun. Nearby, a family with young children spread their own blanket, the kids giggling as they chased each other in circles. "Marcus?" Evelyn said after a while. "Hmm?" He looked up from his drawing. "How slow is slow?" Her voice was playful, but her eyes were serious. He grinned, understanding her question. "Slow enough to last, remember?" "Yes, but what does that mean? Weeks? Months? Years?" Setting aside his sketchbook, Marcus turned to face her fully. "It means we take each step when we're both ready. No rushing because of outside pressure or expectations." His expression grew thoughtful. "But it also means we move forward, not just stand still." "I like that." Evelyn reached for his hand. "Forward, but at our own pace." "Exactly." He squeezed her fingers gently. Right now, I'm enjoying getting to know you. The real Evelyn, not Miss Shaw. I'm looking forward to our standing Friday dinners, our Saturday morning coffee dates. Me too. She hesitated, then asked, does your no-fixing rule mean I can't invite you to foundation events? Because there's a children's literacy night next month, and I'd love to have you there. Not as my driver or my employee, but as my date. Marcus finished for her, a smile tugging at his lips. Yes, my date. He considered it, his expression thoughtful. That would be very public. I know, but I'm not hiding you, Marcus. I'm proud to be with you. His eyes softened at her words. Then yes, I'd be honored to be your date. Evelyn felt a surge of happiness. This was progress, small but significant. Forward movement at their own pace. From across the park came the sound of an ice cream truck, its cheerful melody carrying on the breeze. Tasha appeared on the path, waving as she approached their blanket. She carried a small cooler and had a textbook tucked under her arm. Hope I'm not interrupting, she said as she reached them. I brought lemonade, thought we might be thirsty. Perfect timing. Marcus scooted over to make room for her. Join us? Tasha settled on the blanket, pulling 3 paper cups from her bag and filling them with homemade lemonade from the cooler. I can only stay a little while. I've got a final study group at 2. How's the studying going? Evelyn asked. Good. Intense, but good. Tasha handed them each a cup. I can't believe graduation is so close. We're proud of you, Marcus said, his voice warm with affection. We? Tasha raised an eyebrow, glancing between him and Evelyn. I am too, Evelyn said quietly. What you've accomplished is amazing. Tasha studied her for a moment, then nodded. Thanks, that means a lot. The 3 of them sipped lemonade in companionable silence, watching boats glide along the river. Evelyn felt a sense of belonging she hadn't expected, accepted, if not quite fully embraced yet, by Marcus's sister. So, Tasha said after a while, how are things with you 2? Marcus and Evelyn exchanged a glance, a private smile passing between them. Good, Marcus said simply, taking it day by day. But moving forward, Evelyn added. Tasha nodded, seeming satisfied with their answer. Good. She picked up Marcus's sketchbook, flipping through the pages. You're drawing again. Really drawing, not just doodling. Yeah, he admitted. It feels right somehow. You should talk to Professor Chen. He still asks about you sometimes. Marcus looked surprised. After all these years? He said you were one of the most talented students he ever taught. Tasha's eyes held her brother's. It's not too late, you know, to go back. Maybe. Marcus took the sketchbook from her, running his fingers over the pages thoughtfully. We'll see. Evelyn watched the exchange with interest, catching a glimpse of old dreams stirring back to life. She made a mental note to ask Marcus more about Professor Chen and his architecture studies when the time was right. Tasha finished her lemonade and stood, gathering her textbook. I should get going. Study group waits for no one. Thanks for stopping by, Marcus said, rising to give her a quick hug. Good luck with the studying. Nice to see you, Tasha, Evelyn added warmly. Tasha smiled, a real smile, not the careful one she usually gave Evelyn. You too, both of you. She adjusted her bag on her shoulder. Don't forget Sunday dinner next week, Mom's recipe. After she left, Marcus and Evelyn repacked their picnic basket, neither in a hurry to leave the peaceful spot. Your sister's warming up to me, Evelyn observed. She is, Marcus agreed. Bringing you lemonade is practically a declaration of friendship in Tasha's world. Evelyn laughed. I'll treasure it appropriately. She paused, then asked carefully, Who's Professor Chen? Marcus folded the blanket before answering. My design professor at MIT. Brilliant man. Tough, but fair. A shadow of something, regret, longing, crossed his face. He tried to convince me to stay when I told him I was dropping out. He saw your talent. He did. Marcus shouldered the blanket. Offered to help find scholarships, arrange a lighter course load so I could work part-time. But Mom needed full-time care, and Tasha was still in high school. He shrugged. Some choices make themselves. And now? Evelyn asked gently. Is Tasha right? Could you go back? They began walking back along the river path, side by side in the afternoon sun. I don't know, Marcus admitted. It's been years. I'd practically have to start over. But you still love it. I can see it when you sketch. He nodded slowly. Yeah, I do. Then maybe it's worth exploring. Evelyn was careful to keep her tone neutral, not pushing. Just to see what might be possible. Marcus was quiet for a moment, considering. Then he said, maybe it is, after Tasha graduates. He glanced at her with a small smile. One dream at a time. They reached the park entrance, where they would go their separate ways. Marcus to meet a friend, Evelyn to prepare for a foundation meeting the next day. Thank you for today, Evelyn said, for sharing your way of seeing the world. Thank you for wanting to see it. Marcus took her hand, his touch warm and steady. See you Friday? 7 o'clock. I won't be late. He leaned down and kissed her softly, a gentle promise in the touch of his lips against hers. When they parted, his eyes were full of warmth and something deeper, a growing love neither was ready to name yet, but both could feel. Have a good week, Evelyn Shaw, he said. You too, Marcus Reed. As they went their separate ways, Evelyn carried the day with her, the sun-warmed blanket, the peaceful river, the feeling of belonging that had wrapped around her heart. This was what real love felt like, she realized. Not grand gestures or dramatic declarations, but quiet moments of connection, of truly seeing and being seen. The weeks that followed settled into a rhythm that felt both new and completely natural. They kept their standing dates, Friday dinners, Saturday coffee, occasional weeknight walks along the river. Marcus attended Tasha's graduation, beaming with pride as she received her nursing degree. Evelyn sat with him, sharing in the family celebration afterward. At the Foundation's literacy night, Evelyn introduced Marcus to her colleagues, not as her driver, but simply as Marcus Reed, my date. There were a few raised eyebrows, a few whispered comments, but nothing that marred the evening. Marcus charmed the children with impromptu sketches of fantastic buildings, and several board members commented on his insight about community spaces. Vivian Shaw attended the event as well, watching her daughter and Marcus with thoughtful eyes. Near the end of the evening, she approached them. You're good with the children, she said to Marcus, nodding toward a small boy who was carefully folding the sketch Marcus had given him. They're easier than adults sometimes, Marcus replied with a smile. Less judgment, more imagination. True. Vivian adjusted her bracelet, a nervous gesture Evelyn rarely saw. Evelyn tells me you studied architecture? For a time, yes. Interesting field. Vivian's tone was carefully casual. The Shaw Foundation funds several scholarship programs for continuing education, for promising students who've had to interrupt their studies due to family circumstances. Marcus's expression remained neutral, but Evelyn could sense his tension. I'm sure those scholarships help many deserving students, he said evenly. They do. Vivian met his eyes directly. And they're awarded based solely on merit and need, no special considerations or connections. With that, she excused herself to speak with a donor, leaving Evelyn and Marcus looking after her in surprise. Did your mother just offer me a scholarship? Marcus asked quietly. I think she might have, Evelyn replied, equally amazed. In her own very careful way. Marcus shook his head, a reluctant smile tugging at his lips. She's something. That she is. Evelyn squeezed his hand. But she's trying. That means a lot. Yes, he agreed. It does. Later that night, as Marcus walked Evelyn to her door, she asked, Would you consider it? Applying for one of the foundation scholarships? He was quiet for a moment before answering. I'd have to think about it. My no-fixing rule is important to me. I understand that. Evelyn chose her words carefully. But sometimes accepting help isn't being fixed. Sometimes it's just being supported, like you supported Tasha. Marcus considered this, his expression thoughtful. I'll think about it, he said finally. That's all I can promise right now. That's enough. Evelyn smiled up at him. More than enough. Summer arrived, bringing warm days and long golden evenings. Marcus had taken on a new job managing security for a downtown office complex. Better hours, better pay. He still sketched buildings in his free time, filling notebook after notebook with designs and ideas. Evelyn continued her work with the literacy program, which was expanding to 3 new schools in the fall. She'd stepped back from some of the more social aspects of foundation work, focusing instead on programs that made a tangible difference in people's lives. One evening in early July, Marcus invited Evelyn to Sunday dinner at his and Tasha's apartment. When she arrived, she found not just Tasha, but several of Marcus's friends gathered in the small living room. Surprise? Marcus said, greeting her with a kiss on the cheek. I wanted you to meet some important people in my life. There was Carlos, who had been Marcus's roommate in college, Jasmine, a childhood friend who taught elementary school, and Michael, who had worked with Marcus at his first security job. Tasha's boyfriend Derek was there too, helping in the kitchen. The apartment was filled with delicious smells, laughter, and easy conversation. Evelyn was welcomed warmly, included in inside jokes and old stories. She learned more about Marcus through his friends' eyes, his quiet leadership in school, his stubbornness when he believed in something, his unwavering loyalty. He stood up for me in 5th grade when some kids were giving me trouble about my accent, Carlos told her over dinner. Didn't even know me then, just saw what was happening and stepped in. Been brothers ever since. That sounds like Marcus, Evelyn said, smiling at him across the table. He's always been that way, Jasmine added. Quiet until it matters, then steady as a rock. After dinner, while everyone helped clean up, Marcus pulled Evelyn aside. What do you think? He asked, a hint of nervousness in his voice. They're wonderful, she said honestly. Thank you for introducing me. Relief and happiness spread across his face. They like you too, I can tell. It was another small step forward, meeting his inner circle, being welcomed into his life beyond their private dates and walks. It felt significant, this sharing of worlds. Later that week, Evelyn reciprocated by inviting Marcus to a small dinner party at her family's summer cottage on the coast. Just a few close friends, Lila and Jake, her cousin Thomas and his wife, and Mr. Patel, who insisted on cooking despite being a guest. They ate on the terrace overlooking the water, the conversation flowing easily under the string lights Evelyn had hung that afternoon. When Marcus excused himself to take a phone call from Tasha, Evelyn's cousin Thomas leaned over. He's not what I expected, he said quietly. What did you expect? Evelyn asked, a touch of defensiveness in her voice. Thomas shrugged. From what Aunt Vivian said, I thought he'd be, I don't know, more showy maybe, using his connection to you. That's not who Marcus is, Evelyn said firmly. I see that now. Thomas's expression was thoughtful. He's solid. Real. I like him. After dinner, as everyone lingered over coffee and dessert, Vivian Shaw made a surprise appearance. She had been staying at a friend's house nearby and decided to stop by. "I hope I'm not interrupting," she said, accepting the chair Marcus pulled out for her. "Not at all," Evelyn replied, surprised but pleased. "We were just finishing dessert. Would you like some?" As Lila served Vivian a slice of cake, the conversation turned to the Foundation's upcoming fall gala. Vivian mentioned they were still looking for a theme. "What about Foundations for the Future?" Marcus suggested. "Highlighting how today's support builds tomorrow's communities?" Vivian looked at him with new interest. "That's quite good, actually." "Marcus has a knack for seeing how things connect," Evelyn said proudly. "How one choice leads to another, building something lasting." "The architect in me, I guess," Marcus said with a small smile. "Speaking of which," Vivian set down her fork carefully. "Have you given any more thought to continuing your education?" The table grew quiet, everyone aware of the significance of the question. Marcus met Vivian's gaze directly. "I have, actually. I spoke with my old professor last week. He thinks I could transfer some of my credits and complete my degree in 2 years, part-time." "And will you apply?" Vivian asked. "I'm considering it." Marcus glanced at Evelyn, warmth in his eyes. "Someone wise reminded me that accepting support isn't the same as being fixed." Vivian nodded, seeming satisfied. "Good. The fall scholarship application period opens next month." The conversation moved on to other topics, but Evelyn could feel something shifting, settling into place. Her mother wasn't just tolerating Marcus anymore. She was beginning to see his value, his potential, his place in their lives. Later, as the dinner party wound down and guests began to leave, Evelyn and Marcus walked along the beach in the moonlight, shoes in hand, feeling the cool sand between their toes. "Thank you for tonight," Marcus said, "for sharing your friends, your home." "Thank you for being here." Evelyn stopped and turned to face him, the waves providing a gentle soundtrack behind them. "For being patient with my mother, with this whole journey." Marcus took both her hands in his. "Evelyn, He paused, seeming to search for the right words. "These past months have been the most real, the most meaningful of my life." "Mine too," she whispered, her heart racing. "I'm not rushing," he continued. "I promised we'd go slow, and I meant it. But I want you to know." His eyes held hers in the moonlight. "I love you, simply completely, without reservation." Joy bloomed in Evelyn's chest, warm and steady. "I love you too, Marcus. So much." He pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her as he kissed her, a kiss full of promise and certainty. When they finally parted, both were smiling, a little breathless. "That wasn't in the plan," Marcus admitted with a soft laugh. "To say it tonight, but it felt right." "It was right," Evelyn assured him, resting her head against his chest. "Perfect timing." They stood together for a long moment, listening to the waves, feeling the night breeze against their skin. Then Marcus said quietly, "I'm going to apply for that scholarship." Evelyn looked up at him, searching his face. "Are you sure?" He nodded. "Yes, it's time to finish what I started. Not just for me, but for my mother, for Tasha, for us." His smile was both tender and determined. "Building foundations for the future, right?" "Right." Evelyn felt tears of happiness pricking at her eyes. Together. They walked back to the cottage hand in hand, their future stretching before them like the moonlit sand. Not perfect or without challenges, but real and true, and theirs to shape together. Autumn came, painting the city in shades of gold and crimson. Marcus had been accepted into the architecture program, his scholarship covering most of the tuition. He continued working part-time while taking evening classes, his old passion rekindled with new purpose. Evelyn had expanded the literacy program to 5 new schools, spending several days a week reading with children who reminded her of why she'd once wanted to be a teacher. She'd found her own purpose within the foundation, separate from family expectations or social obligations. On a crisp October morning, almost 6 months after the Haven Gala where their journey had begun, Evelyn and Marcus met for their regular Saturday coffee date. The cafe was crowded, so they took their drinks to go, walking along the river where they'd spent so many hours talking and dreaming. "I have something for you," Marcus said as they reached their favorite bench. He pulled a flat package from his messenger bag. "A small anniversary gift." "Anniversary?" Evelyn looked confused. "6 months since you asked me to the gala," he explained with a smile. "Since everything changed." Touched that he'd remembered, Evelyn unwrapped the package carefully. Inside was a framed sketch, not of a building, but of the two of them sitting on a picnic blanket by the river, heads close together, at peace in each other's company. "Marcus, it's beautiful," she whispered, tracing the lines with her fingertip. "I wanted to capture how I see us," he said. "Together, comfortable, real." "I love it. Thank you." She leaned over and kissed him softly. "But now I feel bad. I didn't get you anything." "Actually, you did." Marcus took her hand, his expression suddenly serious. "You gave me back my dreams. You helped me believe I deserved them." Evelyn shook her head. "You always deserved them, Marcus. I just reminded you." "Well, I'm reminding you of something too." He shifted slightly to face her fully. "You are more than your family name, more than the foundation, more than what people expect of you. You're Evelyn, kind, brave, and real, and I love every part of you." His words washed over her like warm sunlight, healing places she hadn't even realized were wounded. This was what love should be, seeing each other clearly and celebrating what they saw. "I have something to ask you," Marcus continued, still holding her hand. "Not a proposal, not yet. We're still taking things slow, remember?" His smile was gentle. "But I want to know if you'd consider moving in together. Not right away, but maybe after the new year?" Joy bubbled up in Evelyn's chest. "Yes, absolutely yes." "It would be a new place," he clarified. "Not your family home, not my apartment. Something that belongs to both of us." "I'd like that," Evelyn said, already imagining a space that combined his practicality with her warmth, his sketches on the walls, her books on the shelves. "A fresh start." "Exactly." Marcus squeezed her hand. "A foundation for our future." They sat together on the bench, planning and dreaming as the river flowed past and leaves drifted down around them. There would be challenges ahead: family expectations, societal judgments, the everyday work of building a life together. But they would face it all side by side, with open eyes and steadfast hearts. 6 months ago, Evelyn had invited Marcus to a charity gala to avoid another empty night of fake smiles and shallow conversation. She'd been looking for company, for something real in a world of appearances. What she'd found was so much more. A partner who saw her truly, friends who accepted them both, and a love that grew slowly, steadily, with the strength to last. As they walked back along the river path, hand in hand in the autumn sunlight, Evelyn thought of the words Marcus had shared that spring day on their picnic. Slow enough to last. It had become their motto, their promise to each other. Not rushing, not forcing, but moving forward together at a pace that allowed their love to deepen and strengthen with each passing day. They had chosen dignity over image, vulnerability over control, authentic love over convenient arrangements. And in doing so, they had built something precious and rare, a relationship founded on respect, honesty, and courage. Marcus smiled down at her, his eyes full of love and promise. Evelyn smiled back, her heart steady and certain. Whatever came next, they would face it together, step by step, building a future that was real and true and entirely their own. The road ahead might not always be smooth, but they would walk it side by side, at their own pace, with unwavering faith in each other and in the steady love they'd found. A love strong enough to withstand judgment, brave enough to cross boundaries, and deep enough to last a lifetime.